What's happening with this case?
Hi, Judge. So Mr. Lopez has been on probation for about 5 years. He's got 6 months left. They filed a bunch of technical violations on him.
Well, no, but I mean, what are we doing with it?
Judge, I think Angelini set us for a contested hearing on the 1st or the 31st.
Yep, so we're here for a contested hearing.
Yes, Judge. And obviously with the delay, it's been, I guess it's somewhat in the air.
Well, no, I mean, state, have you conferred with the state?
Yes, sir.
Are you all ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
All right. So the court is calling 2018 CR 0165, State of Texas, you're on that side, counsel.
Oh, sorry.
State of Texas versus Roland C. Lopez. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state,
Jason Dorgan.
for the defense?
Kurt Hopke for the defense.
All right, so on January 25th, the defendant entered pleas of not true to violation of conditions 2, 2, 2, 4, 5, 5, and 9A. Mr. Lopez, do you continue to wish to plead not true to those violations?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And are you the same Ronald C. Lopez who was placed on community supervision in 2018 CR 0165 for the offense of possession of a controlled substance, penalty group 1 gram to 4 grams on July 27, 2018 for a term of 4 years and extended for a total of 1 year? Is that you?
Yes, Judge.
Yeah, Roland.
Oh, Roland.
Roland, yes.
Thank you. Is that you, sir?
Yes, Judge.
All right, state.
Judge, the state calls it Sean Abrams.
All right, Ms. Abrams.
And Judge, I would object to this witness that she doesn't have any personal knowledge on.
All right, we'll find out. All right, Ms. Abrams. Could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can lower your hand if you'll state your name for the record.
Bashan Abrams.
All right, state.
Ms. Abrams, what do you do for a living?
I'm the court liaison officer.
All right, I need everyone to please whisper.
I'm the court liaison officer for the 187th District Court, working for the Adult Probation Department.
What are your duties in that position?
I am the go-to person between the court and the probation department.
And you said that you are actually a probation officer with adult probation. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. So do you have access to the chronologicals and other notes made by probation officers who are supervising defendants?
Yes,
And in particular, do you have access through your employment to adult probation's records regarding this defendant, Roland Lopez?
yes.
And do you have access to those right now, or would you like a copy of them?
I would like the copy that you have.
Just for the record, I'm going to tender copies of chronologicals and other documentation that was provided to the defense at the prior setting of this case after your review. Could you just take a look at that and see if that reflects documentation related to Mr. Lopez?
Everything here appears to be from Mr. Lopez's file.
Okay. And have you received communication from Mr. Lopez's current probation officer in relation to this case?
Priscilla Sinceros, yes.
And in particular, did you receive information related to the violations that are alleged in this motion to revoke community supervision?
Objection calls for hearsay.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question, please?
Did you receive communication related to the alleged violations in this motion to revoke community supervision?
All right, objection will be overruled.
Yes,
All right. Did you receive communication about November 17th of 2022?
Objection calls for hearsay.
All right, that'll be overruled.
I need to repeat the file.
May we have a minute here?
Yes.
That's you.
Yes,
All right. What was documented for November 17th?
Objection calls for hearsay.
That will be sustained.
All right, I think it's established that probation officers can testify to each other's notes and records.
You want to lay the foundation for
Sure.
that?
What was the nature of the documentation from November 17th, 2022? Who made that record?
the record was made by Priscilla Cisneros.
And I think you established that she is the current supervision officer of Mr. Lopez, right?
That is correct.
And did she make that record in the course of her duties as a community supervision and corrections department officer?
Yes,
And did it reflect activities that she engaged in as a part of her duties?
yes,
All right, what did she describe happened on that?
Objection calls for hearsay, confrontation clause, Fourth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, and that this is just reading a document that was not submitted under a business record affidavit or anything like that. There's no exception for hearsay that is going to allow her to testify from communications from another person who's not in this court.
State.
Judge, I don't believe the confrontation clause applies in a hearing for a motion to revoke community supervision. And as I mentioned, the case law is established that probation officers can testify to each other's documentation in relation to their supervision of probationers.
Really?
Right. So, okay, I'm not going to allow sidebar comments.
I'm sorry, Judge.
So with regards to the confrontation clause. Yes, it does apply. But with regards to your establishment of it as a document kept in the regular course of employment, the court will allow the question to be asked.
can you repeat the question, please?
This one, I don't even remember. What was the nature of the interaction that Priscilla documented on November 17th, 2022?
This was a virtual office visit conducted by Ms. Cisneros with Mr. Lopez, and it was done via Zoom. And
And what happened during that interaction?
during the interaction,
Judge, I'm gonna have to do a running objection to this.
All right, so
Any communication by someone out of court being read to the court by probation, and she's also using something to refresh her recollection, but it's not even, it's just reading what the
All right,
document
so-
says.
this is what the court has before it. In the allegations, it's either he failed to submit or he did not fail to submit. So if there's anything in the document that is not addressing those issues, the court is not going to allow testimony to that. So,
And we'll narrow the question. Was there any documentation related to the submission of a urinalysis sample around November 17th, 2022?
the Ms. Cisneros notes indicate that she directed the defendant to submit a UA on this date.
And was there any record that you submitted on November 17th or the next day, November 18th, 2022?
No,
Was there any indication that he provided proof of employment or otherwise documentation that he was gainfully employed on November 17th, 2022?
I would need to review the file to see if there was any employment in there. However, there are notes indicating that the defendant stated he was working 12-hour shifts and he could not submit due to him working the 12-hour shifts. He
So it's-
indicated that he could not submit that date nor the following day because of the work schedule.
Your Honor, may the witness sit down briefly to review and see if there was any documentation submitted in the.
All right, if you all want to review the files and if you all want to confer, you're more than welcome to confer. All right, just have a seat. And counsel, have you seen the probation's file?
I have a copy of the chronological section.
Okay. Roland Lopez.
Hey, Judge,
Hello.
talk about your long-suffering Dallas Cowboys fans. I'm a Houston Texans fan.
All right, we're back on the record in 2018 CR 0165, State of Texas versus Roland Lopez. I believe we were still on direct examination of the witness, Ms. Deshawn Abrams. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, States, you may continue.
Trying to remember where we left off. Ms. Abrams, I think we were talking about the violation of condition number 4 for failing to provide proof of employment. Prior to this allegation for failing to show proof of employment on November 17, 2022, when was the last time that Mr. Lopez had provided proof of employment?
July of 2022.
And did he provide proof of employment for the month of November 2022?
No, we did not.
What are the conditions of probation? How frequently is a probationer, or and specifically Mr. Lopez, how frequently must he provide funding?
The condition state must provide based on at request of the supervision officer. Typically, we, as a rule of thumb, we get it every 30 days, every 30 to 60 days.
And do the defendants receive a reminder to provide proof of employment or proof of residence?
Typically, that's done on each office visit.
Is there any kind of automatic system for that?
There are text messages that go out. I can't tell you the frequency. It's case by case basis.
And continuing on this November 17, 2022 interaction, there's an allegation that Mr. Lopez was not conducting himself in a properly and orderly manner in violation of condition number 5. What was Mr. Lopez doing during that interaction that was not in accordance with an orderly manner?
And Judge, I'm gonna object again under hearsay, confrontation clause, and they failed to lay a predicate for a business record affidavit or a hearsay exception under a business record affidavit. Generally speaking, in this specific instance, it's going to require confrontation with the witness as to which specific conduct Mr. Lopez displayed on that Zoom that was neither recorded or memorialized. This witness has no personal knowledge as to anything that was going into the this Zoom. Doesn't say anything about, can't say anything about Mr. Lopez's demeanor or anything like that. And I think any testimony that absent Ms. Cisneros being present to testify to it should not be admitted, and it certainly should not be given any weight.
I don't know if it was Zoom or not, because I haven't heard any evidence yet.
And regardless of the nature of the communication, my objections still stand.
All right, that'll be overruled.
And Judge, if I can approach, just in the interim, we did find a case related to the confrontation clause objection, which I've tendered to the defense previously, showing out of the fourth court that the confrontation clause does not apply in a revocation.
And Judge, my argument is in light of that, we're still in a specific situation where it would require the personal knowledge of Ms. Cisneros, who is not present in the court and is the only person that could testify as to a lot of what was conducted during that hearing.
All right, that objection will be overruled. You can answer the question.
The notes indicate that the defendant was reminded that he's required to make his payments and he was required to make his monthly payments, and during the meeting, the defendant became argumentative at times when CSO asked about his compliance of UA testing and monthly payments. The defendant reported he is tired of each officer telling him the same thing and he would like to have a compliance hearing. Upon review, a supplemental report was submitted to the court letting.
Objection, this is going beyond the interaction on Zoom.
That'll be sustained.
All right. And Ms. Abrams, at the time that this interaction happened on November 17th, 2022, was Mr. Lopez under zero tolerance supervision?
Yes, it was.
What does that mean?
Zero tolerance means zero tolerance to be in compliance of all conditions of probation at all times.
So in that sense, is it fair to say that any violation would be a violation of zero tolerance?
That's correct.
Let's turn now to June 30th of 2022, the first allegation that we have on the motion to revoke. There was an allegation of failing to submit drug testing. Was Priscilla the first probation officer that Mr. Lopez had?
No, she was not.
Do you know who the probation officer was at the time of the June 30th, 2022 violation?
One moment, please. I'm sorry, can you repeat the date?
June 30th, 2022.
I would have to go back to that date in the file, I'm sorry.
Okay. Is there an indication in the probation file about Mr. Lopez being instructed to submit a drug sample, or I'm sorry, a UA specimen on that day or around that day?
Mr. Lopez did not report for the month of June in 2022. However, he was on monthly UAs and knows that he should have submitted.
He was required to submit every month,
That is correct.
and he did not report it out.
That's correct.
Was there any indication that he submitted a drug specimen or a UA specimen independent of his reporting to probation?
No.
We'll pass on this. Judge.
All right, defense.
All right. Okay, so per your testimony, there was no specific request that he submit to a drug test on June 30th, 2020.
That is correct.
Okay, and he did test in May of 22 and in July of 22, right?
Objection to evidence.
That'll be overruled.
That is correct.
And he tested negative.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1 second. That is correct.
And he tested negative on both of those occasions, is that
That is
correct?
correct.
Okay. Now, On November 17th, 2022. There was a specific request that he give a sample on November 17th, given by Miss Priscilla on that Zoom. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And there was no, from your testimony, there was no reminder before that date,
Before,
November 17th. Between October 28th and November 17th, 2022, there was no specific indication that he was supposed to provide a sample on that particular day of the Zoom meeting.
he was told on the Zoom meeting, but between those times, no,
Okay.
no indication.
And he did provide a urine sample on October 28th. Is that correct?
October 28th, that is correct.
And he also provided one on November 30th, 2022. Is that correct?
November 30th, 2022, that is correct.
Okay. Now, regarding the proof of employment. Does it say anywhere in the records that Mr. Lopez has been employed at the same employer, Freeman Expositions, since 2017?
I do not have that in the records that I have in front of me. I'll have the review court file for that.
Okay. And generally speaking,
However, they are,
objection, not responsive.
All right, you can finish your answer.
however, as a condition of probation, regardless how long they've been working, wherever they've been working, you're supposed to provide proof of employment.
And he had most recently provided proof of employment prior to November, was in July of 2022.
That's correct. With the ending date of June of 2022. The check stub ended in June of 2022.
And he had never given any indication that he had lost his job, changed jobs, or anything like that.
I don't have notation of that now.
Okay. Now, on violation, condition number 9A, it's alleged that he failed to report a change of address, job, or an arrest within 48 hours. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and there was no change of address, no change of job, or any arrest that he could report. Is that correct?
We can't verify that because when the field visits were completed, we could not do a adequate field visit because it was not there.
But you have nothing in your files or anywhere saying that he had a change of address that he didn't tell you about, a change in job that he didn't tell you about, or any arrest that he didn't tell you about.
According to my records, there was several field team visits. And the mother of the defendant. who lived
Objection,
at-
we're going into hearsay of hearsay of hearsay at this point.
All right, with regards to anything the mother said, that objection will be sustained.
So they also said on September 16, 2021, that defendant failed to permit the supervision officer to visit defendant in his home or elsewhere in violation of condition 52. In your chronologicals for September 16, 2021. Says, or sorry, on September 8th and September 14th, there were field visits at his home.
Correct.
Okay, so on 9/8, 9/14, we have successful field visits, and then on September 21, Mr. Lopez was at work at the time. Correct?
I don't know where he was. It doesn't, I can't tell you where he was at the time.
Okay. Now, you can't testify to anything about the nature of Mr. Lopez's interaction with Priscilla Cisneros on the Zoom, or on the 13th, or the 13th of July, or November the 17th, 2022. You can only go by the notes, right?
That is correct.
All right, and in the notes, you stated that he was argumentative as to a misunderstanding about his conditions of probation, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and it says, does it say anything about Mr. Lopez raising his voice?
On the you mentioned two separate
Well, this
dates
focus on
on
the
11,
17th.
17. No, it does not say that. he
Does this
said-
say anything about him using curse?
No, it does not.
Does it say anything about him insulting Miss Cisneros?
No,
Now, the same applies to July 13th, 2022. Did he insult Miss Cisneros?
Yes. All right, and counsel, while she's doing that, I don't have a trial court certification in my
Okay.
file. You do need a test of us.
they
Urgent.
the notes for that.
Because I haven't left this seat. And I've been in this seat since 8:40.
Your Honor, I don't have the notes in the documentation.
I've
that
got
I
it.
have.
Okay. All right, and can you go over the trial court, while she's doing that, can you go over the trial court certification with your client? Oh, and please don't check off boxes.
Okay,
I don't know why people think they're in charge of checking off boxes when I'm signing on it.
all right. I'm sorry, Judge.
That's
I
okay.
already did. Oh, we get a new one?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Has he signed it?
Sorry, Judge.
Okay.
For the front.
I can fill out your style.
Okay.
All right, move back on your record, on the record. That's your next question.
With looking at the chronologicals, be able to, well, I guess it wouldn't necessarily refresh your memory, but it would see what a previous probation person has considered.
Yes.
So what's the question?
She needs to refresh her memory.
Well, no, I mean, what's the question?
Is the same as, if, is there any indication that Mr. Lopez raised his voice, any indication that he cursed at probation, or that he did anything that would be considered impolite, specifically beyond arguing about his understanding of the conditions?
And this, oh, he hasn't shown it to you.
So based on the notes, it does not indicate that Mr. Lopez first at the officer or
Did he insult the officer?
what did insult. It does not indicate that he was insulted. It just indicates he was argumentative in regards to the terms of probation.
All right, any other questions?
Right. And we're talking about, we talked about zero tolerance, but it doesn't, the motion to adjudicate does not indicate any particular violation of the zero tolerance. Is that correct?
It is. In particular to a specific condition,
Into any specific action under condition 22.
well, zero tolerance is number 22.
Right,
so-
but it doesn't say anything in particular that Mr. Lopez did to violate that. It would be violated zero tolerance to wit, specifically what?
It does not state that on this piece of paper.
Okay, thank you. Now, generally speaking, whenever you're on probation and you break a condition of probation, that is grounds to revoke. Is that correct?
Yes,
So in effect, every probation is zero tolerance to a certain degree.
no,
So you're saying there are conditions where someone may break a condition and that is okay with probation?
it's not okay with probation. It is submitted to the court, and then depending on the court's direction, we go from there.
Okay. Past witness, Jeff?
All right, thank you. Are there any other witnesses from either side?
No further questions for this one, Mr. Chair.
Any other
I think
witnesses?
phone line.
I'm sorry, before we rest on our case, we'd ask the court to take judicial notice of contents of the court's file, particularly the last two motions to revoke that were filed in this case.
All right, the court will take judicial notice of that.
Defense calls Roland Lopez.
All right, can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All
Yes, ma'am.
right, can you lower your hand, state your name for the record?
Roland C. Lopez.
All right, defense.
All right. Mr. Lopez, were you ever given any notice to do a drug test on June 30th, 2022?
No.
And how long have you been working at Freeman Expositions?
February 28th, 2017.
And have you changed employment since then?
No, sir.
And how your work goes, if they told you you had to drop everything and do a drug test, would you be allowed to keep that job if you did that?
No, with the prior states, they told me that since the duration of a lot of stuff that went from drug court to everything else, there was a lot of time gaps in between, so I'd have to give them notice to the union and the union give them notice, so they would give me 2 days off, so I could take care of all that situation.
And otherwise, you'd be working every day.
Yes,
How many hours do you do a week?
with overtime and everything, probably over 40.
Okay. And you need to provide for yourself and your family, right?
Yes,
How many children do you have?
3.
And you understand that it is important for you to do everything you can on probation, right?
Yes,
And do you regularly submit to drug tests?
yes,
And you regularly test negative, right?
yes.
Now, if there are times when they ask you to give a drug test, and it conflicts with work, what do you usually do?
I asked her to see if I could set it up through the month and say if within that time frame, do I have the whole month to be able to submit, and then I could go ahead and give my job an opportunity to let me off for that date, because there's only one specific place, was RMS, that we could go to, that the probation only lets us go to. And every time they're always backed up, and Sarah Thatcher was a last PO that I had, and she was the one known about this, and she would tell me, you know what, understand, go ahead. Sarah Thatcher was under knowing that I had to do this with my job prior and everything else. And when I got off of probation, back on probation last year at the same time, I was put under 3 months weekly UAs, and everything would be held in advance of SAP and the year extension. And I completed it completely in May. And Sheriff Thatcher told me not to go I was done with UAs.
Any objection there at this point?
Sustained.
Okay. Now, let's talk about whenever they did extend you. Did you ever get a copy of that extension?
Through drug court, I did.
Okay. And did that, and did you comply with that extension, even though it continued after your original probation would have ended?
Yes.
Okay. Now, after you did those weekly UAs, how long did you do those?
I did 3 months weekly, and I did 2 times a week. It was on the phone UA.
Okay. And Ms. Thatcher told you once you did those 3 months that you didn't have to do it anymore.
That satisfied the judgment from his Judge Boyd the last time, putting me back on there. And then she told me that I didn't have to do no more UAs, and my stipulations were done, because that was the judgment at that point.
Okay. So when Ms. Cisneros took over and told you that she wanted more UAs, you were confused.
Yes, because I was already past my 4th year of probation, and I thought it had been held in advance. So I completed it. I thought it was terminated.
And it did say on that extension that certain conditions were being held in advance.
Yes.
And did anybody explain to you what that meant?
Yes, they did.
And for your understanding is that once you finish those weekly UAs, you no longer had to provide these samples.
Yes, and that was through drug court.
Okay, and you hadn't cleared it with work that you would need these times off for when they requested you do these drug tests, right?
Mhm.
Yes,
Yes.
okay. Now, you provided me with a copy of your latest check stub from January, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And this is a picture of it. Is this a accurate, fair and accurate depiction of your last paycheck?
Yes.
Okay. Now, it doesn't show the whole thing, right?
No.
Right, that's just. But it does show your employer, it does show your name, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, tendering to opposing counsel. And Judge, show if I may tender to the court.
Was there any objection?
We object to relevance under 401 and 403 grounds.
Right,
Saying this is proof of his employment, Judge.
all right,
Judge, we object, there's no date or any kind of indication about when this was.
all right.
And Judge, that's the nature of the photo. I have it on my phone. I can certainly show the court and
All right,
opposing counsel.
just mark it. I'll accept it. Defense exhibit number 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Judge.
Oh, you need to have it marked too.
And again, you said that you've been employed there for the last 6 years?
Yes, sir. Going on 7.
7.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so you were unable to submit on short notice on the 17th or 18th. Did you submit a drug test within the month of November?
Yes, sir.
What day?
This will be the 30th.
Okay.
And I had asked, at that time of the 17th, I had Miss Cisneros if she would supply me with her email. So I could get all the receipts from the UA and my home, my ID and whatever I need to present to her. And I never got that email.
Ms. Cisneros never gave you an email so that you could report to her all the things that she's accusing you of not reporting?
Yes, sir. No, she didn't.
Okay. Now, on about the 13th day of July 2022 and November 17th, 2022, did you have Zoom meetings with your probation at the time?
Yes.
Okay. And at the time, did what they say to you conflict with what you were told by Ms. Boyd and others and your previous attorney as to, UAs, making payments, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes.
Okay. And did that confuse you?
Yes, it did.
Did you bring this up with them?
Yes.
Did you raise your voice?
No.
Did you insult them?
No.
Did you curse at them?
No.
Did you do anything besides question whether they were correct about your bond conditions because they had been previously explained to you differently?
No.
Now, on November 17th, did you have a change in address at any time?
No.
And did you have a change in job at any time
No, sir.
on or about the 17th day of November 2022?
No, sir.
Did you-
Counsel, just 1 second. Let me have you guys step back just for a minute because I have cases behind you that are not going to take that long.
Okay, good.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lopez?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, defense, I believe we were still in your case and share.
You're gonna call your next witness.
All right. Call your next witness.
Defense calls Lisa Ruiz.
All right, Lisa Ruiz. Could you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you can lower your hand. I'm gonna need you to make sure you speak up, state your name for the record.
Lisa Ruiz.
All right, defense.
All right, Ms. Ruiz, what is your relationship with Roland Lopez?
He's my boyfriend.
Do you live together?
Yes.
Where do you live?
1449 Chalmers.
Okay.
I'm sorry? 1449 Chalmers, sorry.
And how long have y'all lived there? A long time?
Yeah.
Okay. And, generally speaking, has Mr. Lopez had the same job?
Yes,
Where does he work?
with the Freeman Exposition,
And how long has he been there?
I'd say like 4 or 5 years.
All right, so I'm gonna need everybody to stop whispering. Pretend like we're on the record and you're in the audience.
Like 6 years,
Okay, how long have you guys been together?
probably about 8 years.
Okay. And do you have any children in the house with you?
Yes,
Um. And do you have any pets?
yes, we have 3 dogs.
Okay. And how much are you paying rent?
So we help his mom with her taxes and everything, so about anywhere from say, like 900 to 1,000 maybe.
Okay. And Mr. Lopez's work helps pay for that
Yes,
and helps pay for food,
yes,
clothing,
yes,
taking care of the pets,
yes,
and pretty much everything, right?
yes,
Okay. Now, he's been on probation since 2018, is that correct?
yes.
And have you seen any changes in him since then?
Objection relevance.
All right, that'll be overruled.
Have you seen any changes in him?
Yes,
What have you seen?
he's a lot more relaxed, calmer.
Has he become sober?
Yes,
And what does that mean for your relationship?
if he wasn't, we wouldn't be together.
So you are helping him with sobriety.
Yes,
Okay. Now, when he does his probation meetings, are they on Zoom?
Objection,
Yes.
lack of person knowledge.
That will be sustained unless you can lay the foundation.
Have you been home when Mr. Lopez has had a Zoom meeting with probation?
yes,
And is that on the computer, on the phone?
on the phone.
Okay. Now, Mr. Lopez, is he a quiet talker or is he a loud talker?
He's a loud talker.
And now, when you say loud talker, does that mean he's angry and yelling or screaming?
Not necessarily. He just talks really loud.
So even if he's in another room, you can usually still hear him?
Yes,
Do you hear the other person or just him?
just
Okay. And if he were to yell or scream or anything like that, would you be able to tell?
yes,
Okay. In July of last year, do you remember him having to do a Zoom meeting?
yes,
Okay, do you recall any yelling, screaming, cursing, anything of the sort?
no,
Okay, and you definitely would have heard it even if he was in another room.
Objection
Yes.
calls for speculation.
Sustained.
You could hear his normal voice from another room.
yes,
So if he raised his voice, would you be able to hear? it?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Have you ever heard him raising his voice in another room, say like during a football game or something like that?
Objection relevance.
Sustained.
Okay, do you remember any yelling, screaming, cursing, anything like that in a Zoom meeting in July of 2022?
no,
Do you remember any? Do you remember a Zoom meeting in November of 2022?
yes,
And same deal, he went to another room to do this.
yes,
Could you hear him talking
yes,
because he has a loud voice?
yes,
Could you hear the other side?
no,
Did you hear any yelling, screaming, cursing, anything of the sort like that?
no,
Okay. Now, last year between January and May, was Mr. Lopez on a very stringent schedule for drug tests?
Objection, relevance, it's outside of the scope of this hearing round.
All right, that'll be overruled.
Was he doing weekly drug tests?
Yes,
Okay. And as far as you know, that was supposed to end in May, is that correct?
Objection, calls for speculation, lack of personal knowledge.
Sustained.
Were you informed that it would end in May?
Objection, calls for hearsay.
Sustained.
Okay. Now, Mr. Lopez, he works, does he work regular hours or longer hours?
mostly long hours.
More than 40 hours a week?
Yes,
Okay. And does he depend on that overtime?
Objection, calls for speculation, lack of personal knowledge.
Do you depend on
Overruled.
that over-
I'm sorry.
All right, so here's the thing, everyone. When people ask questions and there's an objection, I make a ruling. If people don't want me to make a ruling on objections, then don't object. That's where we are. So the objection has been overruled and you can answer the question.
Yes,
Do you depend on that overtime?
yes.
All right, in November of 2022, did y'all change address?
No,
Did Mr. Lopez change job?
no,
Had he been arrested in November 2022?
No.
Ms. Ruiz, if Mr. Lopez were to go to prison today, what would that mean for you?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled.
it would be an income loss for me, for us.
Would you lose your home?
Objection, calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Yeah, yes,
Do you know how much longer he has on probation?
Objection, outside personal knowledge.
Sustained.
If she knows.
Sustained.
Are you proud of Roland for sticking to this probation and staying sober?
yes,
Do you think he can complete this probation clean and sober?
yes,
Has he been a faithful worker and always bringing home money for the family?
Objection,
Yes.
overruled.
That'll be overruled.
yes,
Do you want this judge to send Mr. Lopez home today?
yes.
Pass the witness.
State.
Mr. Ruiz, how long did you say you've been with Mr. Lopez?
About 8 years,
Okay, and during that time, have you seen him struggle with drugs?
not necessarily, no,
No. Have you ever seen him use drugs?
no,
Okay. So you don't really know how he's doing with the sobriety, right? This is just from what he's telling you?
well, from living with him, I see him every day, he's normal to me,
Sure, so as far as you know, he's never used drugs.
around me, no,
Okay, so when you were telling his defense attorney about how you're proud of him for being sober, as far as you know, he's always been sober, right?
yes.
Okay. And the Zoom meetings that you were talking about, so I guess you were not present, you weren't in the room for those Zoom meetings, you were just in the house and could hear through the door
Yes,
his side of the conversation?
yes,
Okay. And you don't know personally whether he's been in compliance with his probation terms, right?
he has,
How do you know that?
Well, what he tells me, but
Okay, so he's told you that he's been in compliance, right?
yeah,
Do you know that he's had 3 motions to revoke filed against him since he's been on probation?
yes,
Do you know what a motion to revoke is?
yes.
What is it?
To revoke his probation, to send him to do the time to stay at the probation.
Because he hasn't been in compliance, right? That's what the state alleges for a motion to revoke, right?
Yeah.
But as far as you know, I guess from what he's telling you, he's been in compliance the entire time.
That's also what I've seen.
Okay. Right, because you haven't seen him using drugs, right?
Yeah.
So if he tested positive, that would not be within your knowledge. You don't know of him using drugs, right? And you've seen him, I guess, you said he's been in compliance, so you've seen him providing proof of his address and proof of employment to his probation officers?
Yes.
When have you seen him provide that proof?
Usually after the meetings, he'll take a picture.
And I'm asking for a
I'm
specific.
sorry, excuse me.
Sorry.
Council, please slow down and please do not talk. If
I'm sorry.
you could please repeat your question.
Sure. Let's ask about a specific date. What day, or if you just know the month and the year, when did you see him provide proof of employment and proof of address?
I know, I want to say, I can't remember like a particular day or a month, but I know I've seen him take pictures and send them, email them to his probation officer.
Do you know who his probation officer was at that time?
It was, I think her last name was
How do you know that?
because he told me and I saw his paper. He told me,
What paper did he show you?
I guess it was like the court paper, the probation paper.
Oh, with his conditions of probation? Oh, so some other court paper?
Yeah,
Okay.
I know I saw her name on it. I don't remember her last name.
We'll pass it. That's the further judge.
All right, thank you for coming in. All right, defense, call your next witness.
This time, defense press.
Yes, we have one rebuttal witness.
All right, call your witness.
The state calls Officer Priscilla Cisneros.
And Judge, I'm gonna object to that. It's a rebuttal witness. We've already had her chronologicals testified to by Miss Abrams. And at this point, she would be rebutting against herself for her own notes in the probation file. And I think that for rebuttal, that's not a valid reason to, the state can't rebut their own witness.
All right, that'll be overruled.
We're not trying to, Judge. We're trying to rebut.
That'll be overruled. Call your next witness.
The state calls Priscilla Cisneros.
All right, Ms. Cisneros. If you can raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can lower your hand and make sure you keep your voice up so that the court reporter can hear and I can hear. If you'll state your name for the record.
It's Officer Priscilla Cisneros.
All right, state.
Officer, what do you do for?
I am a community supervisions officer.
How long, for Bear County?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been with CSCD for Bear County?
4 years.
All right, and during that time, have you had cause to supervise the defendant in this cause, Roman Lopez?
I did. I've supervised him, yes,
When did you begin supervision of Mr. Lopez?
in October of
October.
2022.
Do you know who his probation officer was before you?
It was Officer Sarah Thatcher.
Now, in October of 2022, did you have contact with Mr. Lopez?
Yes, I had contact with him via Zoom.
Okay, and what happened on that Zoom interaction? I'm sorry, what date?
It was October 28th, 2022.
What happened during that Zoom?
I introduced myself. I informed the defendant that his officer no longer works for the department and that I would be taking over the case at the time being. I reviewed his conditions of probation and attempted to gather information in regards to his residence and employment. Defendant went on to state that he had been transferred.
Narrative.
Overrule. You can continue.
That he had been transferred to several different officers while he's been on probation. And that he had some speculations that he didn't agree with. And he wanted to meet with the judge to set a compliance hearing.
Did he clarify about what he didn't agree with?
He was adamant about the extension, stating that he should have been completed with his probation in July of 2022 and was not understanding why he still had to report.
And did you clarify that he was still on probation?
Yes,
Did you ask him for any kind of, well, actually, I'll move on. Did you have contact with him on November 17th of 2022?
yes, we were scheduled for a Zoom meeting.
And did he appear at that meeting?
Yes.
Okay. What happened at that Zoom meeting?
He reported in on November 17th. That date, he stated that he was at work. I recall telling him if he had any proof of residence and employment. Once again, he became upset that he is still on probation, requesting again to speak with the judge. And also stating that I reminded him that he needed to submit a monthly drug test on that date. He stated he was at work, he could not attend the drug testing by close of business on that date because he was working a 12-hour shift, needed to provide a 24-hour notice to his employer. I gave him the option to submit the drug test within the 24 hours the following day. He said he couldn't, and I stated, okay. Upon review, I did notice that there was a pending MTR from September of 2022.
Okay, and so let me stop you. When you said, you stated, okay, did you mean that it was okay to not, or did you convey that it was okay to not submit a drug test?
No, I did not say that it was okay for him not to submit a drug test. I just instructed him that he was either to submit today or tomorrow. If not, it would be reported as violation.
And as a part of the community supervision, do probation officers have the authority to direct a probationer on when to submit a UA?
Per condition number 2, all defendants are required to submit as directed by the courts or the supervision department.
Why is it important for the probation officer to choose the day of submission instead of the defendant?
Because given in this case, the defendant is on for felony of possession of controlled substance. If we allow the defendant to submit at his leisure, then chances are he can clean the system out and either submit a dilute or a negative drug test and not in fact monitoring him to see if he is randomly complying with his condition of sobriety.
Now, from your records, did Mr. Lopez submit either on November 17th, 2022 or November 18th, 2022?
No, he didn't.
And I guess on either of those 2 days, did he provide you proof of employment or proof of his current residence?
No, he did not. I did inform him to submit it via email. He had stated that he had submitted it to his previous officer. Once again, I had informed him that that officer no longer works for the department, and I needed to verify his current residence and employment. And the reason being was because he is on field visits monthly. And it was important. So I told him to email me. I recall giving him my email verbally. However, I did state at some point that I would be sending him an email. However, I don't recall sending him an email.
All right. But you do recall providing him your email address?
Yes, first name, last name. at fair.org.
And there's an allegation that he was not conducting himself in a proper and orderly manner on that Zoom visit. Now, you were the one that I guess organized that violation or submitted that violation to my office, right?
Yes,
What about his manner or conduct was not proper in your opinion?
in my opinion, I instructed him the moment he became argumentative, the moment I directed him to submit the drug test on either that day or the following day. And once again, he became argumentative because he stated that he should not be on probation at this point. As well as I addressed his monies, that he had not made any payment towards his probation fines, which he was currently delinquent. I believe it was like $4,000 some odd dollars. And I instructed him to make a payment, even if it was a minimum of $20, to stay in compliance with his conditions. He stated once again that he wanted to cut me off and stated that he wanted to talk to the judge, and I told him he would have his time in court. However, in the meantime, he needed to comply with all his conditions. He became argumentative, just stating that, I don't understand that, there's speculations on his case. And I told him I'm not gonna entertain the argument at that point in time. We were on meeting. And I was directing him at that point in time to comply with his conditions, giving him instructions to submit drug tests and pay for his probation fees, as well as provide proof of residence and employment, and that his following meeting, he would be informed.
What kind of reminders are probationers given to provide proof of employment and proof of residency?
Aside from verbal instructions from the probation officer.
Objection calls for speculation and lack of personal knowledge. These are not reminders sent by this probation officer.
Overrule.
You can answer.
The defendant is sent a 2-day notice prior to their scheduled appointment via text that they are required to submit proof of residence and employment at the time of their meeting.
And you said you didn't provide it at that November 17th, 2022 meeting. Do you know when the next time he provided proof of employment and proof of residency was?
Since I've been monitoring him for October of 2022 and November of 2022, he has never provided proof of residence or employment.
Or do the probation conditions say that if he's provided it once, that's sufficient?
No. That is not sufficient.
How often is Mr. Lopez in particular required to provide proof of residence or proof of employment?
Monthly.
We'll pass on this one.
All right, defense.
Give me a second page. Okay, Mrs. Cisneros, what is the intention and goal of probation?
It's a program allowing defendants to, with our program, we redirect their behaviors that initiated their crimes. And hoping that they can be a contribution to our community. At the same time, ensuring the safety of our community and the citizens that reside in it.
Okay, so the goal is to, would you say the goal is to rehabilitate a client into becoming a functional member of society?
Yes,
Okay. And by functional member of society means someone with a steady job, steady home,
yes,
steady family life,
yes,
and able and drug free,
yes,
and contribute to society, pay taxes, all that good stuff, right?
yes.
Okay. And as his probation officer, did you know that Mr. Lopez did have a steady job?
I was not provided any facts of that.
Okay. But you did read his probation file indicated that he had not had a change of employment in quite a while, right?
I have, but once again, each defendant is required to submit monthly proof that they are in compliance with condition. I believe it's number 3 or 4.
Okay, well, let's look at condition number 4. Can you tell me where in condition number 4 it says you need to provide monthly proof?
Obtain and keep gainful employment and lawful occupation and show proof of employment. Notify the supervision officer of any changes within 48 hours. You will tender any and all financial documents as directed by the courts or the supervision officer.
Okay, but does it say anything in there about you have to report monthly?
No,
Does it say anything about having to report every 3 months?
no,
Okay. And if you have you reviewed the chronologicals prior to this? Prior to today?
No.
Okay, were you aware that he submitted proof of employment, the same employment he's had since 2017? The last time was in July of 2022?
yes,
Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you testified that he had asked for you to email him so that he could reply to that and provide you with the proof.
yes,
And you said you forgot to send that email.
I did not forget. I might have not sent it.
Okay, so you didn't send it.
No, I did not. send it.
Okay, and your name is Priscilla.
Yes,
Can you spell that?
Priscilla.
Okay. Is your name an easy name to spell as compared to say Jane?
No, it's not.
Okay. All right, now. His main issue was he was confused about his conditions and his extensions because it differed from what he heard in the court, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, and so what he was asking for on November 17th and any other day was he wanted clarification on what his conditions were so that he could comply with them, and that's why he asked for a compliance hearing.
Yes.
Okay. And he believed that the judge said something different than what you as a probation officer were saying, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so can you understand why he might have been confused and wanted clarification?
No, because I did review the chrono that was submitted in July, stating that the defendant was provided all proof of his conditions signed. And he had stated to that officer that we are going back to that again. So he did have proof during that visit on, I believe it was July 13th.
Okay.
From Officer Thatcher.
But he was confused on that date as well.
I was not there for that office visit.
Okay, so you don't know,
I don't know.
and you don't know anything about that office visit at all?
No.
Okay. So you can't say whether or not he was proper in conducting himself in a proper orderly manner in July. You can't testify to that at all.
I don't know.
Okay. Okay. In November 17th, 2022. Do you know if Mr. Lopez had a change in address?
Once again, he didn't provide me any proof of residence to that point in time.
Okay, but now, let's go back and review the terms and conditions of probation number 9A, okay? And does it say that he is required to provide proof on a monthly basis?
No,
All right, in fact, doesn't it say that he has to notify any changes within 48 hours? Is that correct?
yes, that is
So
correct.
if he did not have any change for this actual condition of probation, he wouldn't need to provide anything.
That is incorrect.
Going by the plain language of condition number 9.
Yes,
So he would not, only if he changed job, address, or been arrested with condition 9 triggered.
yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, on September 16th, 2021, was there a field visit attempted on that day?
According to the chronos that were entered, yes,
Okay.
based off of the condition that the defendant was ordered a field visit monthly.
Okay. Give me a second. All right, I have a copy of your comments here. Would you like to review?
All right, so ask your question. If she needs to refresh her memory, she can, but everyone just ask your questions.
Okay. So you just testified that you believe a field visit was attempted on September 16th, 2021.
Yes,
Okay. And did you know that there was a field visit conducted on 9/8,
of what year?
2021?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, and a field visit was done on September 4th, and it was successful, right? And then on September 14th, there was a field visit. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. But on there, were you aware that there was no field visit conducted on September 16th?
yes.
So there was not one on September 16th?
There was no contact made with it.
No, there was no field visit attempted. Is that true?
I believe so, yes.
That no field visit was attempted on September 16th?
I need a refresh.
This is one of the pages of your
So what was your question?
was there a field visit attempted on 9/16?
Yes,
Okay. Here's the next page. Do you see 9/16 on that page?
No.
Okay. So I'm asking you again, was there a field visit conducted on September 16, 2021?
there was a field visit attended, yes,
Where does it say that on there?
not on here.
Okay. Every time there's a field visit, it does go into chronologicals, is that correct? So if it wasn't here, what means it didn't happen, right? So you agree with me that
I
there's,
didn't hear you. I can't hear you.
All right, here's the thing. Sorry to interrupt. Everybody, please keep your voices up. So here's the question. One of the allegations in this motion to revoke is that there was a field visit attempted on or about September 16, 2021. So did somebody from probation go out to his residence on September 16, 2021 to try to visit? That's either yes or no.
Yes,
There we go.
okay. But if it was in the. Are you sure?
Objection, that's.
No,
Now you can ask it.
are you sure that there was a field visit on September 16th, 2021?
our officers went out to the address on the 16th.
Okay. But they were there on September 8th and the 14th. As referenced in the chronologicals, correct?
Objection, asked and answered.
Sustained.
Nowhere in the chronologicals does it say that they visited on September 16th. Isn't that correct?
It states right there,
Where,
September 16th,
which is reference to that.
yes,
Okay, so there was no field visit on September 16th, is that correct?
that is correct, I apologize,
But there was one on September 14th, 2 days before.
yes.
Okay.
All right, so here's the court's question. And please, everyone, listen to my question and just answer that question. In this motion to revoke, the allegations are that somebody from probation went to his house on or about the 16th of September 2021 and attempt a field visit. Did that happen or did that not happen? Did anybody from probation go out to his home on or about September 16th, 2021 to attempt a field visit?
No, Your Honor, I apologize.
All right, is there anything else of this witness?
Pass the witness, Judge.
All right, thank you. All right, so any other witnesses from either side?
Nothing to say.
All right, number 2 is true, number 2 is true, number 2 is true, number 4 is not true, number 5 is not true, number 5 is not true, 9A is not true, number 22 is true, number 52 is not true. So,
Okay.
Mr. Lopez,
Judge.
here's the thing. You have a choice. I can continue on probation, but you're doing ISF, or either I will revoke you and give you 2 years. So if you want to discuss that with your attorney, you can. Those are your 2 options.
Yes, ma'am, I'll continue with probation.
Let's confirm first, sir.
Yes. And
Okay.
Judge, I do need to bring up some Administrative matters. Can you have a seat?
Sure.
Thank you, Judge.
Judge, I filed a motion, I need a ruling on my motion to quash allegation 22.
All right, that'll be denied.
Okay, and I do need to ask for findings of facts and conclusions of law.
All right,
I can follow up with another request in writing.
sure. You can follow that up in writing, but your client needs to make a decision and you have 10 minutes to make that decision. Either you're going to be continued and you're doing ISF, or either you're getting 2 years. Those are your options.
And Judge, I do, you,
Two, and two are true.
On the second two, Judge, there was no testimony whatsoever. on the
Two,
diluted
two,
sample.
and two are true. 4 is not true. 5 is not true. 5 is not true. 9A is not true. 22 is true, and 52 is not true.
Okay.
All right, so Jose Gallegos,
I have to ask for a directed verdict on condition number 2, because there really was no testimony regarding a diluted sample.
all right, so your client has two choices.
I agree.
Either he's
Judge.
going to ISF, or either he's getting 2 years. I'm giving him till 12/10 to make that decision.
Just need to make sure I get my ruling.
Sure. I've already given you my ruling and I've told you what is true.
Okay, so you're
All right,
denying
thank
my directed verdict?
Yes, I am.
Thank you, Judge.
Who's here on Roland Lopez?
That's me, Judge.
All right, what is your client doing?
My client has indicated he'd like to stay on probation.
All right, Mr. Lopez, as you can come forward. We're back on the record in 2018 CR 0165. The court will deny the motion. Alter and amend conditions to extend for 1 year. ISF state, and he's to remain in custody until transfer. There will be field visits at your house, and probation. These field visits will be on the date that you schedule them. So there will be field visits 1 time per month until further notice. There is to be the UA hotline until further notice, and I want him tested at least once a week. And if you want to, you can do that, or you can do the patch. So he can either do the patch, that'll help him with his employment, or either he can do the UA hotline. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And you're on zero tolerance. I don't do zero tolerance normally, but since there seems to be some concern, so this is what zero tolerance means. If you violated any conditions of your probation, then you will have violated the zero tolerance policy. Do you understand? So if you don't report, that's a violation. If you don't do your UA, that's a violation. Do you understand?
Judge, I do.
All right, good luck to you. We're back on the record in 2018 CR 0165, State of Texas versus Roland Lopez. That parties announced for the record for the state.
Jason Garahan, Your Honor.
Kurt Hoppy for the defense.
And are you Mr. Lopez?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
All right, Mr. Lopez, the court gave you options, which I can't do that in every case, but some cases I can. And I asked you if you wanted to go to ISF, or either the court would sentence you to 2 years in prison. My understanding is that you changed your mind and you wish to withdraw, or I'm sorry, you wish to have a motion for the equivalent of a new trial or reconsideration. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge.
Any objections from the state
No, Your Honor.
defense?
No objection, Judge.
All right, and so are you asking the court to sentence you to the 2 years prison?
Yes, Judge.
Are you waiving your right to appeal?
Yes, Judge.
All right, the court will sentence you to 2 years prison. Give you credit for any time served. There's to be a $1,500 fine, time and money to run concurrent. Restitution of $57 to SAPD. Did you ever pay that restitution?
Ma'am?
Did you ever pay the restitution to SAPD of
They said it
$57?
They said it was within the probation fees or whatever it was.
I believe it has been taken care of, Judge.
Probation, has that amount been paid? All right. Well, the court will note that the restitution is satisfied. So the court will sentence you to 2 years in the prison. of course, revoking you, give you credit for any time served. There's a $1,500 fine, time and money to run concurrent, showing you what's entitled trial court certification of defendants' rights to appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, Judge.
All right, because you waived your right to appeal, because you've agreed to the sentence of 2 years, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
Yes, Judge.
And because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
Yes, Judge.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. All right,
May you be excused, Judge.
yes. We'll see you when we see you.